My name is KRISTA Bailey. I'm a former employee of Resorts World Bimini and resident of Dorm 2, Door 6A, downstairs. This is my statement in regards to altercation that occurred on March 1st, 2017 involving myself and Mr. Peter Capron, security supervisor at Resort World, along with some of his fellow security officers that work his shift. After being relieved of my duties as a room technician in the engineering department as a result of job abandonment, I left HR and began to gather my belongings as well as washing and securing all of the company items so that they could be returned before my departure, as being informed I would need to vacate the premises as soon as possible by Mr. Christopher Rule, as such is company policy to prevent any misconduct as a result of being terminated. Later that evening, I proceeded to Dormitory, where there was a group of employees socializing to say my farewells and hang out before my departure the following day. I was indulging in alcohol as well as others in attendance. As time passed, Mr. Peter Capron made demeaning inappropriate statements as well as throwing jeers towards me. I became livid because it was unwarranted and hurtful. Emotionally heated, I swung at Mr. Capron in anger of his antagonizing behavior towards me. After swinging at him, Brad grabbed me from behind, restraining me while Mr. Capron hit me about the facial area. Intoxicated, I recall Andrew saying, and several others, "Y'all stop." I can't recall in its entirety what weapon may have been used and how long I was hit repeatedly by Mr. Capron. I can recall after OPAC security asking if I wanted to make a report, to which I declined, as well as security supervisor Bruce from Resort Road, and I declined as well. I retired to my dorm painful and bloody. The following morning, when I went to return the company belongings to HR, Mr. Roll requested to see me and told me I needed to leave the premises immediately, and security escorted me to my room to collect my belongings. I was never asked by Mr. Roll what happened or offered any medical attention prior to reaching HR that morning. But before this incident even occurred, I had already made a verbal complaint towards Mr. Capron in regards to him being sexually inappropriate towards me and a group of fellow employees. In actuality, the reason I declined to make any statement that night was because I felt as if nothing would have even come out of it, because prior to that, I already had an incident with Mr. Capron in which he approached me inappropriately and amongst other employees in regards to my sexuality. Last year sometime, while sitting on the back porch by Dorm 2, it was several of us just congregating, and as we were sitting down just talking, a young lady that was visiting her husband from Freeport, she came over to us and we were just talking, as well as Mr. Kilprin pulled up whilst on duty and began to have conversation along with us. As we were talking, I asked the young lady, okay, where she was from and everything else. She said she was from Freeport and she worked at a hotel. I informed her that my mother also used to work there and my father was the chief engineer, letting her know that at some point she should remember me, a little girl running around the hotel, and she should remember my face. Upon saying little girl, Mr. Capron blunted out, "You mean little boy?" And I said to him, "I know I'm a girl." I said, "Little girl, I'm a girl, not a boy. I'm not confused. I know that I'm a female." After I keep insisting to him that I am a female, he then says to me that I need to prove to him that I am a woman, in which he said to me he'll give me $1,000 to prove to him that I am a female, but he needs to put his finger inside of me. I said to him, no. And then he said, no. I said, no. Not KWON, but NO, which means no. If I meant KWON, it would have meant I don't know. And on top of that, after that, I said to him, that's why I guess you're a security, because you clearly don't know how to make a form a proper sentence, in which he became upset and he began to curse and carry on with us. He started to argue and row and carry on and say how we need him as security and we can't survive without them on property and everything else. And at which point I just started to walk away and I was like, whatever. After that incident that would have happened on Saturday, on Sunday, I went to my supervisor, which would be Mr. Leslie Roll, and I explained to him what happened. After explaining to Mr. Rule what happened, he called Mr. Andrew Sturr, in which I started to explain what happened that day. Mr. Sturr then asked me if I wanted to make a formal report, as it would probably result in Mr. Capron losing his job. Me not wanting Mr. Capron to lose his job, I thought about it before making a full report, and he told me Omar was away at the time, so come on Monday and sleep on it, and if I want to make a report, come there on Monday, and that news would not be made known of the situation. That Monday morning when I went to work, I carried on my regular duties at the Hilton. After finishing most of my duties, I radioed Mr. Roller and let him know that I was about to go down to Mr. Sturp to try and make my report. And when I did that, Mr. Roll was like, give him a minute and everything else. He's going to try and contact someone before I proceeded to make my report. When I finally got a chance to go by the control in the front to make my report, I met Mr. Nose there. Mr. Andrew was not present. Sturp was not present. When I entered, Mr. Nose said he's aware of what I came there for, and I left because he was not present. I did this at least twice, trying to contact Mr. Sturp. After feeling, just frustrated and as if they were not taking it seriously, I did not go back until afterwards when I was ready to leave and head home to Freeport as a result of me having to leave because of my pressure being high and I got time off from the doctor. I proceeded before leaving to head to Freeport to start it to begin to give the report, but it was almost time for me to head out to the airport. But in all honesty, I feel as if nothing would have ever been done anyway because to them it wasn't nothing important. So that's why I never even made a report, finished that report that day or even leading up to that night when everything happened because within myself I knew that nothing would have been done about it. It truly saddens me because I have not done anything to Mr. Capron at all for him to have such anger towards me or even want to hurt me. But I guess that people are people, but I'd hate to see that he's allowed to continue on with this type of behavior, intimidating people and abusing his authority because it's uncalled for. And maybe this will fall on deaf ears. Maybe nothing will come out of it. But at the end of the day, right is right and wrong is wrong. And nobody should be allowed to abuse, talk down, discriminate against anyone based on their color, race, creed, or sexual preference, especially someone that is placed in authority of others. I still do not understand why it is that Brad Brown, a fellow security officer, would hold me back and then allow his supervisor to hit me. I still don't understand that. But I mean, it's disheartening because it's not fair that the people that are supposed to be the ones that keep you safe are the ones that, at the end of the day, that conflict the pain. So, abuse of authority, okay? It's just a plain abuse of authority. And I'm almost certain that I'm not the only person that has any complaints towards Mr. Capron or the behavior of the security officers there, especially the supervisors, in regard to their interaction towards employees at that Resort World. Like I say, this may fall on deaf ears, but At the end of the day, no one should be allowed to use their position to take advantage of staff.